And so my name is Midwife Sally, and what I do is to help pregnant women go through their pregnancy without worrying that something will go wrong. We have Sally's tips for expectant moms. So this book is going to guide you throughout your pregnancy journey. It's really tight for me. Oh my god. It's really comfortable and it's easy.
Is it okay?
Yeah. I
Okay.
feel light.
Olive. So.
Yeah.
Hello everybody, yeah, welcome to Just for Women Africa, and my name is Olaliko Amusa, the founder of Just for Women Africa. And before we start our show, we'd like to give thanks to our host, Tia Coffee House. They're located off the Lumba Road here in Accra, Ghana. Nice, serene environment. If you'd like to come over for breakfast, lunch, dinner, Tia Coffee House is the place to be. And today on the show, women get pregnant for 9 months, they give birth, they go through a lot. I'm sure they have a lot of questions they ask themselves as they're pregnant over the 9 months. And today on the show we have with us Midwife Sally.
Yeah.
You're welcome to the show, Sally.
Thank you.
Right. And Midwife Sally is here with us. She'll be telling us about why she became a midwife, and she'll be taking us through some. We'll be asking her some questions, so she'll give us some answers on, various questions women ask when they're pregnant over the period of 9 months and more. You're welcome to Just Women Africa, Sally.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. Very first question is, could you just tell us briefly about yourself and why you decided to become a midwife?
Okay, so I'm a midwife, but I started as a nurse. That's my professional background. I started as a nurse. I trained at Kolebu teaching nursing training college. Then from there, I got married after 3 years. So after I got married, I got pregnant for the first time, and that was when I realized that I did not know so much about my body, so all the changes that was occurring in my body during pregnancy. So that was when I started doing a lot of research on pregnancy, labor, delivery, and one thing that shocked me was the statistics about black women, African women, or black women, no matter where you find yourself, that we are more likely to die out of childbirth issues than white women. And so that was really something that struck me, and I said, okay, so where then is the problem? So I did a little bit more research, and I realized that it was more of knowledge, education. And so I decided that okay, then it is something that is possible. Social media is something that is available. I don't need so much. I don't need to ask permission from anyone. I can just start from that place. And so I decided to go back to school, KNUST, to pursue midwifery. And so I got the knowledge from there. So I was trained as a midwife at KNUST. And then from then, after I finished school, one of my main aims was to make sure that I set up a platform or an organization that would be able to advocate for maternal health. Yeah, so that is a summary of how I became Midwife Sally.
That's really quite interesting to know. That's quite interesting. Okay. So what will give you the excitement of being a midwife?
Okay. Yeah, so the excitement is about whenever I'm able to help any woman change her story from having a bad complication and now she's well, a baby is well, through the little advice you have given her. Because that is where the problem is. The problem is with the education, the knowledge that women do not have. That is why they are having a lot of complications. So once you are able to give that little, maybe over phone, social media, somebody may not, oh, what is social media? But you are using just that platform, that internet to save a lot of women, and it is really making an impact, changing things. And so that is my joy.
Your joy. That's true. That's quite true. That's quite true. Okay, so let's move over straight to questions women usually ask when they're pregnant. I have a couple of questions right in front of me over my research for this interview, and most of the times you read articles and women will say, I've been pregnant for 10 months, 11 months. Can a woman actually go that far, being pregnant for 10 months, 11 months? Because I know that women can only be pregnant for 9 months.
Yeah, so I have heard stories like that too. But usually we expect that women should go up to 42 weeks maximum. No woman should cross, we do not use like months and those kind, but no woman should cross that 42 weeks. So when you get 41 weeks and you haven't given birth, your doctor will intervene, maybe an induction of labor or cesarean section. The problem is that sometimes a lot of people will say, I went to 9 months, 11 months. But the fact is that some women do not even resume their menses after their previous birth before they get pregnant again. It makes them not to even realize when they got pregnant. And so she can come to you and tell you, I've been pregnant for this number of time, like this period. But the person, a lot of women do not even keep track of their menstrual cycle and all that. Some people too could have medical conditions, like a woman who is already having fibroids, she has a big abdomen, or she was even desiring to get pregnant, and she was believing that was a pregnancy. Now through the process, she got pregnant with that, and so she says, "Oh, I've been pregnant for 6 months," and she wouldn't even tell you 1 year, but practically there's nothing like that. You are not supposed to go beyond 42 weeks. Once you go beyond 42 weeks, your placenta gets to a place it will not work again.
Okay.
It stops functioning.
Okay.
And then the baby can pass away, or like you try and fetal death.
Okay.
Yeah, so there's nothing like women going beyond 10 months, 11 months. It's sometimes because they are not able to know when they got pregnant, or certain conditions, certain things interfere, and it just jumps up the whole thing in their head. So.
Oh, okay, because those stories you hear are usually like quite interesting. Because those questions are really those stories you hear are really quite interesting. You're wondering 10 months, 11 months, it doesn't make sense. Okay, we'll be to the next question. I'm sure a lot of women when pregnant, go through. How do they manage morning sickness?
Okay, so morning sickness is usually one of the things that happens to majority of women during pregnancy, and it is because of a hormone that is released during pregnancy. We call it human chorionic gonadotrophic hormone, HCG. So that is what is responsible. Once you get pregnant, it starts coming. The nausea and the vomiting usually starts after 6 weeks. Yes, what women can do to reduce it a little is that you wake up slowly from bed. You make sure that if you cannot, somebody will use a brush and then it will irritate vomiting. So you can decide to use a mouthwash in the morning, and then you make sure you eat on time. Mm-hmm. The more you don't eat, the more the nausea gets worse.
Okay.
Yeah, so as a pregnant woman, you don't have to leave your tummy empty.
Okay.
Yeah, so at every point in time, you should eat on time. And you should be, different things work for different people as well. Mm-hmm. Sometimes you need to try different things to see what works for you. For somebody, even something with ginger in the morning can reduce the morning sickness.
Okay.
For somebody, something with mint. For somebody, it could just be a normal malt drink or beverage with chocolate or something, and it will work for him. Okay. For her. Yeah, so you have to find out what works for you. And then you eat in bits. You reduce spices, you reduce oil, and so these little things can help to control the nausea and vomiting. You might have to also put it in your mind that it is a phase and it is going to pass. Mm-hmm. Yes, it is very severe in the first trimester. The second trimester, you are going to be a bit okay. But as I said earlier, you need to eat. Okay. If you do not eat, your nausea goes up. You even feel you are sick, but you may not be sick. It is just that maybe your eating pattern is not going on well.
Okay. And first, when you mentioned trimester, it means the first 3 months. 3 months. Yes. And second semester is the next 3 months. Yes. Okay, for viewers who are watching and haven't been pregnant before. Okay, so which will bring me to my next question. What types of foods should pregnant women eat?
Okay, so pregnant women should concentrate. There's a saying that you should eat for 2 when you are pregnant. It does not mean that you should double the amount of banku or fufu or the carbohydrates or whatever you are eating. What we are saying is that you should increase the value or the nutritional value of the food you are eating. So whatever you are eating, you ask yourself that, am I going to get nutrients to nourish myself and to nourish my baby? So an example is, whatever I put before me, whilst I was coming, I saw a pregnant woman who is taking her breakfast, and all she's taking is cocoa. So that is white porridge. She's not taking any bread. No, she's not taking any protein, no vegetables, nothing. She's just taking the white cocoa. So in that case, she's just getting carbohydrates. She may feel that she has eaten, but that is not proper eating. Yes, so if you are eating as a pregnant woman, you have to make sure that that cocoa, what are you adding to it? Some granules, maybe we have our local food, kose, which is also has some protein in it. And then you can also add a form of protein to make the food nutritious. Yes, so everything that you're eating, you just have to ask yourself, will this nourish my baby? And you don't really have to change your food pattern. You just have to become a bit familiar with whatever you are eating and make sure it is nutritious. It's basically that way.
Okay, that's quite interesting. So basically, when a woman is pregnant, she has to make sure that she's eating healthy for herself and the baby.
Yes, basically.
Okay, all right. So which brings me to my next question. I find a lot of pregnant women ask this question, and when they're pregnant, can they go to the salon and have, their hair done, have a perm, have jerry curls, get locks on? What exactly should they be doing to their hair?
Okay, so that's interesting. So recently I talked to a hairdresser on TikTok. So I was live and then she came, so I decided to ask her because I've also had these questions a lot. Yes, previously what I told them was that you can do your hair, because we have something that we call, like, this is local. Anything that you do your hair is not going into the body. It remains here.
Yeah.
So you don't really have to say because you are pregnant you will not do your hair. You can do your hair. The other side, like the insight the hairdresser was giving me, which I made a lot of sense out of, was that she says for some women the smell of the cream increases their nausea and then they are vomiting.
Okay.
Yes, the smell of the perming cream and all the creams they use makes them even more sick. And so for such women, they should avoid it.
Okay.
And then, especially in the first trimester. She also mentioned that for some people, it makes their scalp, she doesn't know why, but then they are prone to more injuries during pregnancy. That is what she has realized.
Okay.
That for some women, when they come and they use the cream for them, especially during pregnancy, they get more cuts.
Okay.
So such women should avoid it. But apart from that, every other person, if you don't have any problem, it's okay. And then one thing she also recommended was that she prefers pregnant women do more of braids and all that, because it gives you the freedom to be more free. You don't have to always worry about plaiting your hair and all that. So she prefers that you braid your hair, and it keeps a bit long, because you are tired, you may not have time to go to the salon frequently. So that is it about perming your hair. You can do it, but you just have to see whether it works for you or it doesn't work for you.
Okay. That's so. I'm sure women who are watching, who have been pregnant or are currently pregnant, you heard it from Midwife Sally about doing your hair. That it should be out and not in, right?
It should be what?
The hair should be out.
No, what I mean is that the perming cream is not going into
the
your
skin. Then
it's not going to affect your baby.
Okay, so I'm sure you have answers for that now. Okay, so that brings me to my next question. What foods should the pregnant woman not be eating?
Okay, so what you shouldn't be eating are foods that are, let me say, empty calories, food that contain no nutrients. In our local system, let's say locally, some of the foods I can mention are alot. Alot it's clay that a lot of pregnant women crave for during pregnancy. It doesn't contain any food, and then it rather gives them worm infestation and all that. You are not supposed to take alcohol, no form of alcohol, no form of coffee, and then even if your partner is smoking or you smoke, you are not supposed to get close to people who are smoking or smoke yourself. Yes. And recently I've had a lot of pregnancy. There's no research to back it now, But I've had a lot of pregnant women who have complained about taking Sobolo, and then in the next time they see themselves bleeding and all that. So for now, maybe until further research is really done to tell us how much is safe for a pregnant woman, they should avoid it as well.
Okay. For women who are watching, I'm sure you heard from Midwife Sally. All right, so we brings to the next question. How does a woman know when she's in labor or when her water has broken?
Okay, so your water can break at any point during pregnancy, especially within the second trimester or third trimester. Yes, and anytime your water breaks, you know when you are going to urinate, it is a voluntary action. You know that I'm in the urine, I can release. But when your waters break, it just comes like you are maybe in the office, you are sitting down, like I'm sitting down with you, and then I just see that there's a gush of fluid coming. So that makes it different from urine.
Okay.
Yes, and so the woman will know that her water has broken, and anytime your water breaks, it is an emergency. You don't stay home for 2 days, 3 days. You have to go immediately. Okay. Because that is what protects the baby. That is like the baby's world. Yes, because as we are sitting here, there's air all around us. But then when it comes to the baby, the water around the baby is like the baby's world. So once the water is gone, the baby starts having problems. It's like the security around the baby. There is something that covers the baby, the membranes is broken. Okay. That is why the water is coming out. Okay. So it means infection can go there. Baby is not free to move so well, and so it brings a lot of problems. So anytime your water breaks, you have to report to the hospital. And for the labor signs, the main indication is that you are having contractions. So contractions is your tummy becomes hard. It comes with some pain. It feels like a tennis ball. Okay. Yeah, so when you feel a tennis ball, how hard it is, that is how you feel. You start feeling that your abdomen is becoming hard, and then when you touch it, that is the feeling, and it comes with pain. Sometimes you see that there is a gush of water, but I don't want to say that a gush of water is always an indication of labor. People can break their waters at any time during pregnancy, and that is an emergency. But for some people, when you are term is like from 37 weeks or 38 weeks, then your waters break. It could also mean that labor is almost in her setting and you have to go to the hospital. Yeah, so your contractions, your waters breaking, some people experience backache, and then you have to, some people also see what we call show, like some little amount of blood coming. And then you also lose your mucus plug. There's something that we call mucus plug. So it covers the cervix. It covers the cervix and protects the baby so that no infection will go up there. But once the baby is supposed to come out, it starts coming out little by little. So you start seeing that you are losing your mucus plug also little by little. Sometimes days prior to the labor. Yeah, so that is the basic sign that labor is setting in.
Okay. All right. So once your water breaks, how long? It says an emergency. So can somebody wait 4 hours before going to the hospital?
Well, I advise that when your waters break, whatever you're doing, you should just stop. I mean, what are you waiting for? Just stop and go to the hospital, because if you are not in labor, and your waters break, as I said, infection can set in. So you have to go. Sometimes they'll start antibiotics. They'll put some fluids on you. They'll check whether the baby is doing well. If they have to save the baby, they will save the baby. If they have to monitor you, they will monitor you. And when you are in labor too, and your waters break, you know, sometimes we say that when you start having contractions and all that, you can wait at home a little. But then for your water breaking, we don't expect you to stay at home with water breaking at all. Okay. You have to go to the hospital. Okay, so for women who are watching, once your water breaks and you notice that there's water coming out, get to the hospital immediately. Stop what you're doing and just head to the hospital. Okay, which brings me to my next question. I read on Facebook. A woman said she's pregnant, she's in her first trimester, but she's spitting and she's vomiting continuously. And the person who wrote it, I think, was her sister, and she's really, really worried. When a woman is pregnant and she's vomiting and she's spitting out daily or hourly, should she be worried, and what she should do? So thank you. When you are pregnant and you are having spitting, nausea and vomiting, it can be normal to some extent. But when you have to be vomiting continuously, I cannot take any form of water, I cannot take any drink, like I cannot tolerate anything at all throughout the day. We have something we call hyperemesis gravidarum. So we have morning sickness, then we have hyperemesis gravidarum. In morning sickness, the woman may not feel so well, like all the signs of nausea in the morning, but once she's able to manage it, like I mentioned earlier, she's able to manage it during the day. Maybe she may be able to eat one or two. She may be able to tolerate. If she can't take water, she will be able to take coconut water. She may be able to take something else. But when it comes to hyperemesis gravidarum, it is so serious, like severe nausea, severe vomiting. She can't tolerate anything. So that woman cannot be seen at home.
Okay.
Yes, so that woman will need hospital admission. They may have to give her medications to reduce the vomiting. They may have to put some IV infusions on her. They may even have to do more tests to see whether there's an infection somewhere.
Okay.
Yeah, so that is how they treat such women with severe hyperemesis gravidarum or severe nausea and then severe vomiting. It is not normal. It's not something that you should be at home because you can get dehydrated.
Okay.
The dehydration can lead to you losing the baby, you yourself getting more sick and all that. So you have to report to the hospital if you have severe nausea and vomiting.
Okay, but does it get to stop after a while? Because most women will say, okay, after the first trimester or whatever, I felt much better, the spitting stopped and all that. Does it get to stop or it goes on to the 9 month?
Yeah, so some women are lucky enough, it gets to stop. But some women, it does continue till the 9 months.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, so some people are fortunate, some people are. I know a woman who stopped giving birth after 2 children because her nausea and vomiting was just too much.
Oh.
Yes, and every time she gets pregnant, she gets this severe hyperemesis. She even has to be on admission most of the time. So with her, the nausea and vomiting was so serious, so she couldn't like just continue enduring all the hardship. So women are different. Some people 3 months is gone, some people throughout. But majority, it stops after 3 months.
Okay, right. Okay, so I have like 2 or 3 more questions for you to answer, then we'll end the show. Okay, so which brings me to my next question. A woman says she's diabetic and she's pregnant. Should she be worried?
Okay, so we really have, as healthcare providers, we have a great concern for women who have certain conditions like sickle cell, hypertension, or pregnancy-induced hypertension, and then diabetes. Yes, so diabetes and pregnancy needs specialist management. And the main aim of treatment is to be able to control the amount of glucose in your blood. So if the glucose we are able to manage it well, then you don't get problems. If we are not able to manage it well because of your own lifestyle or poor management, then there are problems like the baby becoming too big, baby getting certain abnormalities during pregnancy. Yes, so diabetes during pregnancy is not anything that any woman should like downplay or play about it or joke about it. I remember there was one time I had a patient who was diabetic in my ward, and because I had read a lot about it, I've gone for workshops on it. I was on this woman every day to check her sugar, and then like it irritated her. So the doctor came in and she even reported me to the doctor. And me, this particular midwife, whenever I come to the ward, I'm always on her and she's not comfortable. So the doctor asked me, okay, so then reduce the frequency of checking the sugar and all that for her. Well, so when she gave birth, she was at the NICU and I was just passing at the NICU. Then she called me and said, Midwife Sally, I've given birth. And I said, I have given birth, why are you here? Then she says that the child has a hole in heart.
Oh.
And so I just knew it that her sugar, you know, when you have diabetes, you need to really control your sugar very well. through diet, through management, lifestyle changes and all that. It is very important. I also had a client who had diabetes, and she gave birth to a baby who was just 2.7, very healthy, no issues. But this lady could educate me on diabetes more than myself, although she wasn't a health professional.
Yeah.
So she was just serious about it, learned so much, she did lifestyle changes, she knew when to take her medication, dietary modifications, she had like the team, and then she was really working with her team, so she had no issues. So diabetes in pregnancy is something that if you are diagnosed with, you should be very serious about it.
Okay, all right. All right. Okay, so which brings me to my next question. Should a pregnant woman be giving birth to her baby at home?
No, she shouldn't. No woman should try giving birth at home. You need skilled birth attendants, unless of course in an area where midwives are performing skilled delivery at home. And that service is also available. Although it's not common here in Ghana or let's say in Africa, skilled delivery at home too is available elsewhere. But if you are in a community like Ghana where it is not really available and it's not something that we do, you have to go to the hospital for hospital birth.
Okay.
Yes, and once you give birth at home, you have to make sure that you sometimes it is not your fault, it's not your doing that you want to give birth at home. But by the time you realize maybe the baby has come already,
okay,
it doesn't mean you should stay home. Just after that, go to the hospital so that your baby and yourself will receive the care that you need.
Okay. Okay. So you heard it from Midwife Sally. Do not give birth at home. Once you are pregnant and you feel like you're in labor, try and get to the hospital as quickly as possible.
Yes.
All right. Okay. So we'll move to the next question. I'm sure a lot of women who are pregnant and their partners get worried about, or it's part of, should the pregnant woman be having sex when pregnant, and for how long?
Okay, so when you're pregnant, you can have sex till you give birth. That is if you are comfortable.
Okay.
Yes. The only limitation is when the mother has been diagnosed of certain conditions, like maybe you have placenta previa. Placenta previa is like your placenta is supposed to be up, but it is down.
Okay.
Yeah, so maybe when you have sex, it can the pressure or the friction can cause it to try and detach itself, and then the woman, it can cause bleeding.
Yeah.
In some cases, to women who have had like multiple miscarriages, or you've been told that you have a weak cervix. Yes, there are certain situations where a woman has a weak cervix. Anytime she gets pregnant, especially in her second trimester, the baby just comes out because the cervix is not closed. It's supposed to be closed.
Okay.
So it opens and everything in it comes out. In that case, sometimes they'll give you something we call a cerclage. It's like they sew the mouth of the uterus so that everything inside will remain there till you are ready to give birth. Then they will take it out. So if you're a woman who have been diagnosed of maybe you have a weak cervix, they will advise you to avoid having sex. Or you have a condition that you don't need to have sex, your doctor will tell you. But apart from that, if you're just a normal person without any issue, then you can have sex till the day you deliver. That is if you are comfortable.
Okay.
Yes, even within the first trimester, it's very difficult for a lot of women because that is the time where like their body is going through all the changes, the nausea is severe, their bodies are adjusting to the system, and so a lot of women may not be comfortable at that time. So the man has to be patient at that time, and when she is okay and she is in the mood, then you can have sex. But you have to, so you can have sex, but you have to make sure that you consider her general health, her well-being, her readiness, and all that.
Okay.
So there's no, I would not say that there's really a limit or something. You can have sex throughout your pregnancy. You just have to know when to, and there should be understanding between the two parties.
Okay. There's this myth out there that what they say when you have sex, when you're pregnant, it makes delivery much more easier. Is it true?
Okay, so especially in the third trimester, it is believed that, it's not believed, but the sperm can contain something that we call prostaglandin.
Okay.
This prostaglandin helps to soften the cervix. Yes, so we believe yes, so when you have sex and these sperms are released into the cervix, it can help in a way soften it, and it may help to initiate labor for some women. It doesn't work for everybody, but it works for some women.
Okay.
I would also want to add that it doesn't mean that if your husband is away, labor will never set in. Yeah, so yes, so if your husband is away, somebody will say, so my husband is not with me, doesn't mean labor will never set in. It is never that way. Labor can still set in for you.
Okay. All right, so for pregnant women out there and couples, we heard from Midwife Sally, it is safe to have sex whilst you're pregnant, even up to the 9 months, unless your wife has complications or has been diagnosed with one illness or the other, and that's when it becomes really an issue. That's why you should not be able to have sex. But apart from that, if she's healthy and she's in the mood, yes, sex is allowed. Okay, so this brings to my very last question. Are there any books for women out there when pregnant that you recommend that they should buy or they should download from the internet to read whilst pregnant?
Okay, so thank you. So first I would say that I have written a book myself. I think Sally's Tips for Expectant Moms.
Okay.
That I have put together like the simple things, because initially I told you that I realized that it was knowledge gap for a lot of women. Why black women are dying, it's just knowledge gap.
Okay.
Many of the deaths are needless.
Okay.
And so I try to put in like little information, so that is available. Apart from that, I know of a lot of, let's say, I remember during one of my first pregnancy, I subscribed to a newsletter, but most of them are based in our foreign countries, where they update you 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks. They tell you whatever is happening and they educate you on your pregnancy. So when you go online too, there are resources available that you can just subscribe to and get information. Yeah, so there are books and there are places. A lot of midwives, I have a pregnancy class where I teach the pregnant women too. Okay. Yes, I'm sure, and I've seen other midwives all over, especially in Ghana, Nigeria, even Zambia, all that. So little by little, we are getting there.
Okay. Tell us about this book of yours, Midwife Sally. So where can people get to buy it?
Okay, so once you visit my page and you send us hi, we can, wherever you find yourself, it's also available on Amazon. Okay. Yes, and in Nigeria, Okada Bookshop. Okay. We have an online platform called Okada Books. Yeah, I think it's available on that too.
Okay. All right. And what's the name of the book again?
Sally's Tips.
Sally's Tips.
Expectant moms.
Sally's Tips for Expectant Women. All right. I'm sure we'll put the link below in the description. So if you want to buy, you want to make orders from her, you know exactly where to go and how to get the book. All right. Thank you so much, Midwife Sally, for coming on the show. And before we end the show, what's your advice to pregnant women out there, all over in Ghana, all over Africa, all over the world, who are pregnant and they feel helpless? What's your advice to them, or your last words to them?
Thank you. So my last word is that pregnancy is a time that I think women should take like sacred. Like at that time, you become more prone to maternal mortality, especially if you are a black woman. Yes, so what I would say is that don't leave your pregnancy to chance. Okay, don't leave your pregnancy to chance. Once you are pregnant, start taking good care of yourself. If you are already doing that, double it. Pay attention to your body, report early, get a birth coach, sign up for a pregnancy class, start reading about pregnancy, so that when you do that, you reduce the level of you yourself having any problems or complications. Yeah, so what I advise is that don't leave your pregnancy to chance, and then take up your pregnancies like a World Cup.
Like a World Cup. I like that. I like that. Which brings me to a question I want to ask. 2020 there was a pandemic year. We're still going through the pandemic, sort of, COVID. What is it about COVID and pregnancy? Should women be worried about COVID when pregnant? I mean, should they go in for the vaccine? If they have COVID while pregnant, does it affect them and the baby? What's the current statistics on that, and what exactly does the World Health Organization say about COVID and pregnant women?
Okay. So initially, when the vaccine was introduced, they were not clear about its effects on pregnant women. So they asked pregnant women to wait. But as time went on, more research was done. They realized that pregnant women could also take it. So they allowed pregnant women to take the vaccine. And they realized that pregnant women who took the vaccine and then had COVID had less symptoms. And but pregnant women who had not taken the vaccine, when they get the COVID, their symptoms was worse.
Okay.
Yes, so that is it. If you are pregnant, you can take the vaccine.
Okay.
Yes, and COVID affected how women approach like their antenatal behavior because of the lockdown, and women, they were doing telemedicine. I remember there was more complications during the COVID period. Like, it's not something that has been documented, but that is what I realized whilst working, because women were reporting a bit late.
Okay.
They were reporting a bit late, especially women who did not have people to talk to or ask them, what can I do at this time? They were reporting a bit late. At that time, I remember that is what I could see. I remember that a lot of women were reporting a bit late, so we had like more complications during the pregnancy.
Okay.
But it was the same time that I introduced my pregnancy class. So women who had access to it or signed up for the class were like, they were more fortunate. We even did a research on the COVID and the pregnancy. I did it with another lady. She's in a university in the US. So we did something with the women within my class. So that is also available to go through.
Okay.
Yes, so it was a research about COVID and then pregnancy.
All right. Okay. So you've heard it from Midwife Sally. It is safe to take the vaccine whilst you're pregnant. It's what did you say? It protects the baby. It will protect you, and you're less likely to have complications.
Like, complications of like the symptoms of the COVID is
Seems
less for women who took the vaccine.
Okay. So it is safe for you to take the vaccine. All right, thank you, Sally, for coming on the show, Midwife Sally. We really appreciate it, and we wish you all the best with being a midwife and helping women in Ghana who are pregnant, and of course all over Africa.
Yes, thank you too.
All right, and of course we'll be leaving her contact details below. We would like to send her a DM or a message, an email. Details are below, except her book link where you want to order a book from. Okay, guys. To all of you who are watching, to the next show, do not forget to like, subscribe, tell your friend who knows a friend about Just for Women Africa. And to the next show from Midwife Sally and I, it will be bye.